Welcome back to the White Bread Podcast. I'm Kyla.
And I apologize for the chaotic last episode.
It wasn't you. It was more me.
You always say it's you, though.
I should have made notes. I was way too excited. I kept losing my train of thought. I felt a bit manic, actually. And now I'm on the opposite end, in the deep dip.
You're in the dip now. Not so manic. What's on the other side? What is the dip of? What happens when you go past manic? Depressed?
Yeah. No, I had my dip. I'm like back to just a level, semblance of normalcy, I think.
Okay.
But I'm also trying to manage my attention span better, like what I consume in terms of media. But it's even the little bits I'm receiving stresses me out a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I'm at, where I'm at.
Okay, good. Also, Evan is here still. We haven't lost Evan. He didn't say hello
so say
yet.
hello, please.
Hello, please.
Okay, so you were saying, Amzul?
I've been manic. I'm not depressed, though.
Do you ever get depressed?
I don't think so. Maybe.
We've cried like twice together.
Yeah.
But we were fighting the one time, so it wasn't depression, it was just anger.
It was just anger. Yeah, maybe that's when I cry, is when I'm angry. Only. But
That's very woman-coded of you.
Yeah, I'm ladylike. That's my biggest trait.
Speaking of, did you watch the Candace Owens documentary?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You have to like pay or subscribe for the full tea.
That's what I think threw me off.
But there are people who believe her.
I believe her.
Okay.
Don't bring it up if you don't know. I believe her. I believe her.
We don't have a, what do you call it, an agenda for the day. I shouldn't have brought that up.
We're talking about Macron's wife.
Yeah.
Wow. I was not expecting it to go there.
I think we should jump from it. But I will just say, like, was it not enough that she married her student?
Exactly.
Like, we don't need the extra propagandized element.
I'm sure you're redeeming her with this documentary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Well, I think Candace is on the sniff.
No. Have you watched it?
No.
She was voted the biggest anti-Semite last year.
Mazel tov.
Mazel's Candace. She did it with grace.
Oh man, that thing is anti-Semitic. The biggest anti-Semite of the year.
Yeah.
That is I'm offended by that.
Good.
Jesus Christ.
There's so much that's been happening. I can't really pinpoint one critical moment over the past couple of weeks. And we haven't spoken in a while. So I'm also trying to be like...
I think how we can manage it is kind of exploring... Maybe just using as like an umbrella kind of framework is the Ernst, however you say his surname,
Ernst Roets.
and Tucker Carlson.
Oh, that is great.
So let's start with that. Did you watch it, Ev?
I didn't know. I just saw like a couple of clips, but I haven't sat through it. Yeah, okay.
I got halfway through. And to be honest, my biggest like criticism coming away from that is that Tucker Carlson, like just espousing bullshit.
No.
Which facilitated Ernst touching on kind of propagandized, like white supremacist talking points, but still under the guise of like this liberal idea of trying to save all South Africans. Because he did specify that it's not just white farmers
that are endangered.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's like I was thinking about this yesterday, that it's if you've lived to see sort of American propaganda past 2 centuries, it's so interesting to be inside of the propaganda for the first time, right? I might have noticed it or seen it other places or accused them or been a conspiracist anywhere else. But I can't help but feel like, oh, these are handed out talking points. That Tucker Carlson is not speaking independently.
No.
That the beginning
You can
of the
hear
assault.
the regurgitation.
Exactly. So the creating of this monster that you're gonna then deal with later, which is America's thing, right? Like you go and say they have nuclear weapons,
Israel
and then
and
you
South
go in and you
Africa.
murder them. And so Israel, South Africa, those relations are heavily involved in this propaganda. No one was speaking about South Africa. South Africa is important to a point in sort of like the geopolitical conversation as like some sort of African leader, or but beyond that, I don't think we were serious strategic partners. We've only ever been friends with everyone. We were symbolic partners, right? Like we represented some sort of liberal or neoliberal project that was happening in Africa.
Cyril's trying to maintain that image.
And it's in trouble. And it's so good that Ernst Roets is terrible.
He is.
But telling on South Africa is great.
Good. Yeah, I agree. I knew you were going to land on that because I walked away.
Important.
I walked away from that thinking like there were even elements that he had to push back on when Tucker Carlson was saying some fucking vile, crazy shit that is literal fake news and misinformation. And obviously he hopped on the things that were beneficial for his
him.
cause.
Yeah.
But he was still trying to be like a sound politician.
Exactly.
In it, which, I mean, props to that.
Yeah, I also think he had no other tools. He's not American, and so he's a South African, and so there has...
Sometimes we can't lie.
Also, there's a level that he can't cross, right? Like, he can't be the one... Like, there's certain places
introducing something.
Yeah, it's like, oh, not you talking about that. So I think he has to toe that liberal line where he goes like, no, this is happening to all of us. And I think they actually ruined... AfriForum's always held this line.
Yeah.
They actually ruined a pretty interesting South African moment by kind of circling it around
race.
Afrikaner farmers and race.
Agreed.
I think it would have been spectacular if just a group of Afrikaners that had proximity to power because they were Afrikaans were actually like, this is the situation, right? Like, this is what's playing out in South Africa.
We're hypercritical of the government, but not through a racialized angle.
It would have been so interesting. It would have been
this is,
actually the most
said,
progressive.
like in our oldest pod episode, when are the AfriForum and EFF going to link up?
Exactly.
And make it a real populist movement.
Yeah, like real populist thought that's about like, oh yeah, there's a neoliberal kind of
agenda
that doesn't work.
But that's what I hated about this interview, because there were salient points and then there was just bullshit.
Yeah, so it was wasted. There were a lot of wasted moments speaking about race in South Africa, and I'm just like...
The Ubuntu thing really set me off.
Yeah.
Like...
That was so bizarre.
I've never heard of that. In fact, in this moment, and I think he clocked the T, and I think he's like a really interesting purveyor.
What was the Ubuntu thing?
So he was basically asserting that there's this beautiful concept in South Africa.
This is Tucker.
Yeah, no.
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, and it's it's a common kind of philosophy, a Zulu word called Ubuntu. But they're teaching in like our education system that white people are inhumane and therefore Ubuntu doesn't apply to them. So you can...
It's insane.
And it's just like the mental gymnastics, because for me, like Ubuntu was actually a pretty neoliberal concept.
Absolutely, Rainbow Nation
and
slogan.
And it became really cringy for all people to use. We rejected the idea of Ubuntu. And then when Cyril was doing bits on the world stage, I was like, Ubuntu, we're so bad. And I feel like he clocked that sentiment. And he's like, how do we also like tarnish this thing that like connects people together?
Yeah.
And I think if he was genuinely, sincerely, academically critical of that neoliberal agenda, we'd be like, Ernst, come on the pod.
And all they're doing...
But you're not invited.
Yeah. And all they're doing in the curriculum is teaching historical facts. And those historical facts happen to be that, like...
But also, what he's referencing specifically is some, like, obscure like academic lecturer who referenced like something in one lecture.
Probably a misreading and a misunderstanding.
Also though, it's like...
But we need to be cautious of how identity politics facilitated this moment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't think we live in a South Africa where Afrikaner fears are illegitimate. That Afrikaans people are afraid of something that is
scary.
There is someone in your house. There is someone trying to kill you. But this is it's built off of a dynamic, right? Although we're saying, let's not enter the conversation through race, the dynamic is built off of a racial kind of tension that's already here. And so it's also being able to look at Afrikaners and be like, oh yeah, this thought is legitimate. This fear is a real-time fear. That if I was in South Africa today and they were singing Kill the Xhosas over off to the side and then they said, no, that was just a song we sang in the past, I might be worried about like that relational thing, and that it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it like, oh yeah, we're about to die tomorrow.
That's such an interesting point, because the ANC has adopted othering kind of mechanisms in order to maintain success.
Exactly.
Which is xenophobia.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So these goals are legitimate,
it's
right?
Interesting.
Like, you're allowed to be scared as a
South African citizen.
As a South African citizen.
Same here, Bali Ernst. Me too,
exactly.
Bruv. Me
exactly.
too. But yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. But I think, I was speaking when we started the pod in one of the unreleased episodes, looking for, I identify as a centrist dad, but I'm not. I'm a socialist at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the importance of like a neutral, at least a centrist space where these kind of very combative ideas can be exchanged, not necessarily agree with you, but at least have an understanding of what's the material condition on the ground. And I think that the themes of the conversation, if there was like this intersectional moment between working class people, farmers, people who are just trying to live a safe life.
Yeah.
Black and white South Africans have a lot in common. And it's sad that we can't be critical collectively. That it has to be this like very radical portion or partitioning.
On both sides, right? Like so to scoff is the thing. I'm like, to show up and scoff at that kind of fear. I'm like, no, but this is legitimate. This is cultural, historical. This is it's here. It's not
at
it's
the
not
same
made
time,
up.
like my on the side of my father, my great-grandmother was forcibly removed from District 6, but then my grandmother was also murdered in her home in Paris.
Yeah.
So I've got these two extremes of like the state and the experience of how the state
operates and
impacts people.
Yeah, and also how the state doesn't choose, right? Like the state sort of dispenses violence equally.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
It's very anti-racist.
Yeah. The state dispenses violence in equal measure out everywhere, and you accidentally run into it or pick it up.
Sorry
or
for all the noise.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
It's an industrial street outside.
You were saying about state violence.
The state doesn't. It can't get to control the violence. All it does is sort of create mechanisms of violence.
Enable it.
Exactly.
And it takes so many different forms.
As it ricochets of people, of different, tensions, of
different sources of power.
Exactly. Different sources of fear. As that starts
different
to ricochet, it
agendas.
hits anyone, right?
And I just wish that like that kind of very loud opposition in the form of like radical Boera could see that like just like it's impacting their economy and their lives and their freedom, right? Like how do the people who you employ, like their experience of South Africa, like how do you not see that, first of all, there's commonalities there, but how much worse off there are people in this country that aren't white. So yeah, it's just a really interesting space to be in. And I wish like Ernst had spoken on a different platform. I feel like Tucker Carlson was very much feeding a narrative and dictating the tone. And it was embarrassing because I understand like Ernst was like, oh, I'm in a position where I can communicate this thing. But it did feel very
There was some wild
manipulated.
The little clip I posted about him saying that it's far more racist than apartheid South Africa.
I literally,
that's
I recorded
unbelievable.
it to play for the pod. I literally recorded
I was like,
it.
that's absolutely unbelievable
Just for
to say.
context.
Stories that come out of South Africa that a lot of Americans have read, that actually the country seems to be falling apart and that the government is kind of genocidally racist.
Yeah.
And then President Trump in the past month has basically said the same thing. And it's shocking to a lot of people, I think, how bad it is and how racist it is. Far more than apartheid ever was.
That's how the show starts.
Evan's face, guys. It should be a video podcast.
That's how the show begins. That's the premise that's set.
When cops kill children, and we have documented evidence of it. When apartheid cops killed black children, shot them point blank.
Like
multiple times.
Absolutely use
in
state
multiple
power
different
in
instances.
every way to kind of differentiate society. It's a wild statement on every level. These are the same people that if you call Israel an apartheid, they go, that's a little too harsh.
Yeah.
You're anti-Semitic.
That is insane.
You know,
That's
they can
crazy.
say that.
It just makes you it makes me think about how stylized all of their information is. That is so crazy.
And this is what I meant about being inside of the machine, right?
In the mechanism,
exactly.
in the propaganda.
That's all I needed to hear.
You know, being inside of something that's grinding that you're like, it couldn't be less
Guys,
true, but it doesn't matter.
First of all, they came for Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Now, they're coming
And by
for Nelson
design as
Mandela.
well. Exactly what you're saying about Ubuntu.
Guys, I promise you, he's now a communist.
A communist terrorist.
Terrorist on X. And I'm seeing some shit on Instagram now. Someone shared like him in front of like a communist
I mean,
flag.
I can tell you that I have engaged with many white South Africans that have said Nelson Mandela is a terrorist.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Those people suck.
Yeah, no, they're
It's such a crazy take.
they're exceptionally.
That time
they're
he is
the
the
most evil
neoliberal
people.
king. Like,
Yeah. Also, witnessing rewriting in real time is a
it's
wild
scary.
thing, right? It kind of contextualizes history as we've come to know it. How confusing, how inaccurate, how all like it's a moving target.
But
whole
the
time.
rewriting isn't anything new. They just want to go back to 1980 or something. No,
Yeah.
no.
So
1960.
This is where my race research comes in. And I started clocking like South Africa being part of the narrative like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And if I still have an account on X, and it's been unavoidable seeing all the kind of racist, anti-Semitic rhetoric, very like anti-trans, anti-LGBTQI is basically the timeline. And South Africa's been popping up quite a lot. And so I went down this black hole of like, you know, where white people are at in terms of making sure their race doesn't die out, because that is like the alarmist position.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's the end of whites, you know. And then I came across the PayPal Mafia. I don't know if you know about it.
that Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel.
Peter
Peter Thiel.
Thiel.
That shit is scary. If there's someone scarier than Elon Musk, it's Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I watched.
And he paid for JD Vance's career.
Yeah.
Guys,
It's a
scary.
wild place.
And the connection that all three of these people have to South Africa, and the conversation around, first of all, saving the Afrikaners, and then talking about a Afrikaans-led space state in South Africa. We talking Israel in South Africa.
Yeah, that's literally the conversation that's being had. It's about a white minority group that needs a space to live in peace.
Africa. Get
In Africa.
the fuck out of here. Like Cape Town isn't already that.
Yeah, it is already a
on.
haven. Just buy a house and shut up. Just buy a house and shut up.
I just feel like I think the GNU couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be lambasted for that, because we need to be prepared for how crazy the next 2 years are going to become.
Also, South Africa might have to hold ultra neoliberal lines for a little while.
That's what I'm saying.
In order to make it work. I think,
That's what I'm
I think any
saying.
type of radical speak, I was quite, you know, I didn't react to it as I thought I would have once I started to look at the story, the ambassador that got expelled.
Same.
I kind of felt like, that's a pretty useless diplomatic move at this point in time.
So,
It's like,
because what does it mean? Does it mean the embassy shutting down?
I think he might get recalled, but I think they might retain the embassy.
Then what are we talking about?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why would he say that at a time like this?
Right.
Why would he call him a white supremacist?
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's like that's your whole job.
ANC
Like that's your
didn't even
not
take
very
that
diplomatic.
Well, ANC didn't even take that position when they were doing mudslinging on X.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that then an arm of our government would be
It's sitting in another
espousing, but America's very polarized right now. I mean, with
Such
I don't wanna
thin
bring
skin,
up-
man.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring up Khalil. What's his name?
Mahmoud Khalil.
I've been reading up and following that. The hypocrisy is crazy. But the thing is, like, as a South African, I understand the impact of student activism.
Yeah.
Sorry. So it hasn't been as heartbreaking for me.
Yeah.
It's scary. People are being disappeared and then deported.
Just catch me up on the story.
So he was the leader of, what was the organization?
It was at Columbia University, the base, like the Free Palestine
Movement, but
students representative at
he
Columbia.
essentially acted as a mediator between the institution and the movement.
Okay.
Had not, like, there were thousands of arrests that happened last year at Columbia, but he wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
He's essentially like the Nelson Mandela post Robben Island. Mahmoud Khalil. And yeah, he got arrested in front of his wife. Have they found out where he is now? He was in a holding center, detention center.
I think like Indiana or some Midwestern state that is basically like known for prisons.
But he's there on a green card, but his wife is an American citizen. So the contention is
8 months pregnant.
Yeah, and he got arrested. But the contention is that, like, are they able to revoke his green card because of his involvement in political activity? But then if the Republicans and the right are so pro freedom of speech and he hasn't actually implicated himself
Hasn't
legally,
broken a single law.
then it's a huge contradiction.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't see it like that.
Yeah, they won't see it like
Yes,
that.
it is.
And I think what's also scary about America is that I think the courts might not see it that way. Because the courts are being overrun by a bunch of right-wing
Because
judges.
businesses are people with free speech,
Yeah.
but a Palestinian is not a person with free speech.
Is not a
I guess
person,
if I was trying to
full
be,
stop.
radical or something.
So that's the update on that. So there's been like a lot of furor around that. But for me, like, student movements as a South African is what gets the people going. So I really wasn't, and we spoke about it on one of the eps, I don't know if it's archived or not, but that moment on social media around Gaza post October 7th and how weird and ineffective that was.
Yeah.
Versus when the campuses started getting active. I'm like, oh, we're going to see shit now.
Yeah. America is weird. It's also like it's a bunch of foreigners kind of creating the policy in America, which is kind of great because they have such a xenophobic kind of line that they're holding as they're carrying out these things.
Like the closing the door behind you kind of narrative.
Yeah.
Of like a right-wing immigrant. right-wing
Exactly.
immigrant.
I mean, like-
sort of like doubling down for the sake of being like, there's no one else who should be here.
Marco Rubio is Cuban.
Yes.
But like his parents are like very like the capitalist wing that left because it was too communist, socialistic. And that guy is, he has a lot of vitriol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying, the Secretary of State, that's like one of the top 5, I think, highest positions in the country. Yeah, and I mean, his announcement was like, this guy's on a visitor's visa or student visa. Meanwhile, he's got a green card, but you're the Secretary of State. It's like, obviously, you know that information, but you're shaping the
being
perception.
accused of drinking literally at a press conference.
It's falling apart really, really quickly.
So that's why the GNU needs to lock in. And I agree. I'm totally of the same sentiment. We need to walk the neoliberal line until the chaos kind of dies down in the States because there needs to be an adult in the room.
Will it die down? I think they committed to a kind of policy change that I don't think has to do with like American
politics. Do you really
politics.
think fascism's going to win?
I think fascism always comes back around. I don't know if it wins.
True.
I think it has its moment, and I think this is definitely its moment.
There will most certainly, there'll be a dismantling of the American system, but not necessarily an entire dismantling.
It's silly because China is going to win the trade war. Like, they'll take a bump, but
I think the idea of a trade war or like trade like that as big, it's not as big a part of one's economy as technology, for example.
I understand that, but if then China is the majority, like they are majority holders of global trade, I mean, technology aside, like Tesla's stocks are crashing. And China,
but the US dollar is still the fiat currency.
Sure, but then China still has like big tech that's far superior to America. So this is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, we have, you know, this crumbling like government, this very polarized moment. China doesn't have to do much other than spend like a ton of money to become
They've been very quiet.
the biggest global power.
Yeah.
So I don't know. America's playing with fire. Like, they lost Europe with the Putin shit. Like,
Yeah, I think
also,
they're just
Trump
trying to
must be
untangle
careful
themselves.
because we're part of BRICS.
Yeah.
And Cyril and Putin are chomies. Babe.
Yeah, we have friends all over the world. And I think
So they need to
Yeah.
just take a step back, leave us alone.
I think they're doing the work of trying to untangle America from like big issues in a very
Subtle way.
subtle but fast amount of time, right? They
I also
kind of are
think there's
dealing with
high
debt.
intellect in the space instead of just vibes and instincts.
Yeah.
Like war instinct. Like, oh, we
Exactly.
should just cut every. They're like, whoa, let's journal a little bit. Let's have a meeting.
Yeah, I think
Let's get some consultants on the team, talk about all the options that come out of this decision.
This is what it feels like.
and I also think American nationhood has become vague. Like, I don't even know
What
what it
is that?
means. I don't even
That
know.
lady on Jubilee against the Sam Cedar, like 20 conservatives versus one, whatever
Yeah.
he is, was crazy. And she's like, aren't we a white nationalist state?
Yeah, you see, that's the confusion. It's like they might be, they might not be. They might not be. They worried about the Mexicans coming in over the fence.
But the Mexicans love Trump
Yeah, and
God.
exactly. Exactly. This is their worry. The Mexicans are going to intermarry. They're going to have children. You're going to have little Mexican Christian white babies. They're going to be Marco Rubio. You're going to have to hire them in high positions, and it's going to frustrate you.
I think with also all the LGBTQI stuff, I'm just like, you guys are creating like a high pressure valve for the best art and output we're about to see for like ages.
I'm excited about the art.
It's going to be good.
I'm like, maybe that's all there is.
But do you think
Maybe that's all.
Evan, you
like
don't agree
human
with me about
civilization.
China, but do you think we're in trouble?
I don't necessarily disagree with you about China. I just think that we can't imagine how it's going to play out. There's too much chaos in the system. There's too many unknowns.
That's why we need to just use our brains and our logic and figure something out.
Yeah.
It can't always be America like
Of
at
course,
the top.
of course.
Yeah.
But
It's no longer going to be that. And they're facilitating their own demise.
yeah, and but the I don't think there's been, there've been many empires in history. I think the British Empire is obviously the biggest one, and I would say the British Empire hasn't even completed its fall yet. It's still tumbling down. So
No, much slower. Much slower. Because
Exactly.
it's a smaller space.
But I think this is an even bigger thing that's tumbling down.
Yeah.
So it's going to be,
But
when
it's
it lands, it's going to be a
Yeah.
huge fucking thunderclap. And I'm kind of, I don't know, scared of that. No, I'm like in denial, you see.
Yeah, I can
That's what's
tell.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kept on saying during Fusement, it must all end. And I'm like, let's run that back a little bit. Like make this fun again. Make this fun again, dude. I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't mean it. It's absolutely not what I thought it would be. It's absolutely like our desires for doom and end and some renewal process actually happens through a lot of tragedy. And I think this
But this is what I said as a woman from the beginning, before Evan was even on the pod. We don't need to kill people. We don't need to rape them. We don't need to destroy their homes. Let's stop doing war.
Yeah.
War is for children playing little toy soldier games.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a thing in real life because
It's shocking to see
It's not
grown men.
Braveheart.
It's also.
I'll
it
never
really
forget.
isn't.
You know what Shai said to me post October 7th? I was like, why are all these babies and women dying? And he was like, because this is war, babe. Do you think it's like Bravehearts and they go to some field where just the men fight? No.
That's not what happens.
The pillaging.
The pillaging begins. Airstrikes over Gaza last night. That was all. Ceasefire broken. Back at it again.
And I saw that.
But we got more funding for the ICJ, so a win is a win.
Yeah.
I mean, the budget speech, everyone got very mad about that. But
I haven't really gone and looked over the budget.
Yeah.
They
The
made
big
edibles.
headline is 0.5 VAT increase.
And they made
But this
edibles.
isn't an economics podcast.
Yeah.
And they made edibles.
Illegal.
Well, not illegal. You can only buy it from the state now. Imagine fucking government weed grows.
All weed or just
No,
edibles?
just edibles.
Okay.
Just edible.
Because
That's
it's
a
through
stranger.
our WHO version of WHO in it something.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Food and Drug Administration. Yeah.
Which makes sense to me because it is a controlled substance now, allegedly. So I think it's a good thing, but it's just like, this is what I hate about us being such a progressive state, but being so conservative in our hearts and in our asses.
Great analogy.
Thank you. That like this should have been implemented in the 90s.
Yeah.
Before it was cool for liberal people to smoke weed. But y'all were like, oh, the devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
Now everyone's loving edibles. You wanna come in and fuck that shit up.
And you know the
Whack.
government is broke when they start selling weed.
Yeah.
However, when
Why
when the
didn't they
you
make
know
it a
that they're in
lucrative
trouble.
business?
It's like so late.
It could have been lucrative.
You know
the
that
Dacha
means money.
party's been begging.
They've been saying, they've been marching up and down Hope Street.
Make it fucking legal, bro. Y'all can make money off of it. Look how they tax alcohol.
But
But they
But
can
I
also
think
export it.
But
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen is they're going to figure out how hard this shit is, and then they're going to just get licensing from all the private businesses and do
Yeah,
that kind of
just sell it
agreement.
again,
But
yeah.
for 6 months, we're not going to have quiet edibles. People are going to be home making brownies again, killing people, putting them in
lockdown all over
comas.
again.
Unconsensual.
Remember when they canceled cigarettes? Those fucking assholes.
Yeah. They cancelled alcohol. Remember how free our hospitals were?
Yeah, that was amazing. They
Some
should do that
breathing room.
again.
Our grannies
Also,
could go get their medicine.
Bring back the fucking curfew, bro. I miss that shit.
Run down the alcohol
Run that
thing.
curfew back.
Why would the state, if they're looking for places to tax, why would alcohol not be the ultimate taxable thing in this country? If you want to increase even 5% on alcohol,
You will make so much money as a
do
government.
that. Like you should do
So it'll
that.
come on the pot.
You should do that. They're going like, oh, we don't know where
Tax
to
the
do
weed,
this.
tax the alcohol, bro.
It's because they're playing a political game. It's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
If you tax alcohol, you lose votes.
Yeah, but also SAP runs South Africa.
Yeah, like,
But it's owned by, I looked this up, Anheuser-Busch.
yes, you were saying.
Yeah. It's, another
So they
American
run the
company.
country a little bit. So they
Guys,
they're the ultimate
we gotta
protected
run
class.
back the pineapple beer.
Yeah.
Start stocking that shit.
Let's build like a
Boy-tea,
weird
like, come
relationship.
on.
I'm like permits for people who want to buy alcohol.
Yeah.
Weird things like that. Like, let's see
Make
what your
it
salary is
weird.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you buy this beer, what's your salary
you say
looking
poor
like?
people can't drink alcohol.
He wants more.
I'm saying, show me.
He
your
wants
pay
more
slip.
control by the state.
I'm
That's
saying,
what he
show
wants.
me your pay slip so we can see if you qualify for a beer.
I don't know. That feels classist.
I think it might need to be. I think alcohol is one of the things we need to preserve for the
For the rich.
For the rich. Yeah.
Actually, that's very interesting.
Give
position.
alcohol to the rich.
and start giving it to everyone else.
Yeah, who could? It's like that.
Guys,
I'll ride for that take.
What is it? On the wagon? What do you call it?
Off
when
the
you're not
wagon.
drinking. When you're not drinking.
On the wagon,
Yeah,
yeah.
On the
That's
wagon.
me right now.
Nice.
Big difference. But it makes it very complicated observing the drinking culture in South Africa. I'm so scared for my
It's
people.
very scary. It's very scary. I saw a press conference where Cyril Ramaphosa was talking about education, but he was talking with such a fear in his heart.
I saw that, yeah. He's like, we should have, 19 years ago, we should have stopped school for 2 years, re-educated all the teachers.
I was like, what a strange take, but
It's not
but like,
strange. I
He's like, our
told
main
you-
focus
But
is
like the
early
He's
terror
childhood
in his
waking
development.
eyes,
up
the
in his
terror in his
last
eyes.
in his last term.
She's just like, what's going on? Yeah. It's like,
Well,
and I
finally,
think,
he's fucking woken up.
yeah, I think they're looking at a
Because
country
he's
Shout out
that
also
to
can't
GNU.
say.
he's interacting with young people that were educated.
Yeah.
in the last 30 years.
feeling like Cyril.
It's absolutely insane. And I think it is a terrifying time to be South African president. Because
Welcome, Cyril, to the real world for me.
also a critical part, we were talking about budget speech. A critical thing that's happened now is that the state has, all of its assets have sort of collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
So the state has less borrowing power. And
When he was talking about Joburg.
yeah.
Cutting.
So the state can't borrow any money. The state can't go to any international bank and ask for money.
America's
The state
not going to give
is
us
fucking
anything.
scrounging for finding whatever it can find. It is terrified.
Well, they should look in their own pockets, perhaps.
That's a centrist dad take.
And that's my other position in life.
My number 2 position in life.
And when I'm not socialing, centristy.
Yeah. Common sense.
Common centrist.
Common centrist. I do socialists still exist? Where are people socialists still?
I think as like a last ditch attempt to not want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
That's where socialism lies.
Yeah.
But it's also, socialism is relative to the conditions, right? So
Of the space.
of the space. So the further away from stability, or the further to the right, I guess, in this model you are, the more radical you have to be to attain the socialist vision.
Yeah.
But once there's stability, like in Scandinavia, they're socialist, they're very socialist countries, but it works in a purer form of the ideology because of the stability.
Yeah.
So that's where the socialists are now. Shit's getting hectic.
Identitarian
So it's all
thing.
relative to the norm.
Yeah. But
Or
now
to the
that the
status quo,
immigrants
rather.
are there.
Yeah, because
It's
I don't-
changing the whole infrastructure. And
But here there's no socialism. Fucking Boysen in Lozi took a radio job.
Power FM.
Power FM.
you guys
Our
lied to
competitors.
me.
Yeah, I swear to you. Though they are competitors.
Okay, jokes. He's not going to rejoin the
No,
ANC.
dude, what was Trump doing before he became president?
Yeah, exactly.
You're fired.
Yeah.
So he's working on
So
public radio in
image,
South
my
Africa.
dog. Public
Whoa.
image.
But then
You're outta here.
we're shilling for ANC when he rejoins.
I want to be a part of whatever Boysen in Law's project is. I'm very interested in participating.
Minister of
somehow.
Propaganda.
Yeah. Throw me in.
I liked how he reacted to this to the USA.
What was his reaction?
Like there was video content of him speaking to misinformation and what that does.
Yeah.
Also clarifying on kill the boer. Like
Yeah.
they always fucking have to do.
I'm like, enough clarifying kill the boer. Maybe what
Just stop
happens?
saying it.
Yeah, what happens if we just stop saying kill the boer and just move on with our lives? And let's see what becomes this deadly
How
thing
about
that's
the
on the
boer
way.
and us kill the government? I need to stop calling for assassinations.
Allegedly,
on the pod.
Yeah,
allegedly.
you were saying now, no murder, no play
Yeah.
murder
I mean,
anymore.
in
So
many...
no, okay, hang on. As a filmmaker,
Oh,
I'm not talking about assassination when I say stop murder.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, I think assassinations should always exist
Okay.
in real life.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm for assassinations.
I've been
I'm for
watching
like
the X-Files.
critical pinpointed murders are kind of like, yeah,
I
necessary.
mean, those are
throughout
the things
history.
that shape history. That's how World War I started. An individual was assassinated.
Not enough
Yeah.
assassinations happening, man.
Yeah.
Happening
There
good
was
old fashioned
one.
assassination.
There was one last year.
Yeah, and I think people have
Yeah, you.
The thing-
No, everybody fucking
Oh, yes.
sexualized the shit out of him and
Louis.
turned it into a meme and a joke instead of a serious like political position that could have inspired a lot of young people. But everyone's so fucking porn brained and internet brained rotted. That,
absolutely apathetic.
Great
Yeah.
read. Great read. The memify, I mean...
Yeah.
fuck, it makes me angry.
Absolutely
and you know what? I was
apathetic.
attracted to Luigi Mangione, so I stopped engaging with him in that way.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we are pop culture idiots
Yeah.
and we consume things aesthetically, but you're smart enough to know it's bigger than fucking getting a Instagram post out that'll get like 4 likes.
It's also what is the journalist, Palestinian
shouting
journalist Mutaz?
Yeah.
a similar thing. It's like he leaves Palestine, he gets put on GQ. It's like, what what is the thing, right? Like what is actually the thing? What are we trying to get at? What does safety look like? I don't think people know. Does safety look like
GQ is not
stardom
gonna help
and
that.
wealth? Yeah. What does safety, when people ask for safety, when people ask for like, a kind of world, what is this kind of world that they're asking for? And it's hard to not, even at that point when you imagine the world that people are asking for, not get even more apathetic. That
Because
even
this
if
is
we
where
were to,
identity politics and representation has gotten us, because neoliberalism and capitalism overtook Idpol and turned it into a disease.
so even if you were to,
Well, it got sublimated into the culture.
Exactly.
So it was.
No, but that's how people think a legitimate political position is putting a Palestinian journalist on the cover of a
GQ.
fashion magazine.
Because the power of that image, that man, his work, his experience is sublimated. The power is killed. It's snuffed out
I hear what you're
because
saying.
it's adopted by
Neoliberalism.
Yes, so it's like if you imagine the pride flag is such a powerful symbol. Now when
Now
on
I
Pride
laughed
Day,
at it when you
Citibank
said
has a
pride
pride
flag.
flag.
Yeah.
It's sublimated.
yeah,
That's
so,
true.
so you imagine the freedom that people are
It's a
expecting to
tactic.
So do you think the
deliver.
It's a
Luigi
tactic.
thing was a psyop and that was just CIA
100%.
agents
I
like
think the
turning it into Hello Kitty
100%.
edits? But women and gays participated in
I don't
that.
think they're that clever. That would be insane if they were that
I
insightful.
think
The CIA,
I
not the
think
CIA, but like shadow forces.
like intelligence.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
watching the X-Files.
but also that it's like I think we undermine how much this era is based on kind of
'Cause it's about
feeding into the
visibility,
system
exactly.
certain ideas. They might not be able to control where the ideas go, but I think feeding into the system a kind of
Because they
disruption.
understand it,
Yes.
because fucking
Yeah.
leftists won't shut the fuck up about their identity. So now they are able to manipulate
Exactly, to
people
play
because
with
it's
that.
like forced down our throats constantly.
Yeah, so there won't be any heroes, and that's the thing. It's
Luigi, I love you. Like not because of the way you look, but because of what you represent.
What's inside, not what's on the outside.
I like that he nearly got away. I wish he
Oh,
got
man.
away.
I was shocked he got
say
caught. I was shocked he got
always
caught.
say that. Like I wish he'd remained anonymous.
And the story of him getting caught also is very suspicious.
He might get
Yeah.
off here because of their planting evidence on him. I've been following the case updates. It could work in his favor that they planted.
Psyop, dude. I'm
Big
convinced.
psyop.
I'm convinced
Big psyop.
by that. Sloppy work.
Yeah.
In a McDonald's is crazy. Come on, feeling like syrup.
But also,
Feeling like-
they said he was
feeling
wearing
like
his
syrup.
mask in the McDonald's. Why would you, if you know there's an image of you wearing the mask, why would you be doing that
Can
in
I be
public?
honest? He looked drugged. When I saw that pic, he looked like he'd been drugged. Just say.
I buy that.
Get onto Mulder and Scully, guys. My brain is broken.
Yeah.
I've been watching too much X-Files.
Yeah, maybe that's what needs to happen. I've been going back to a lot of old art.
It's so good.
I
Buffy
think
the
it is
Vampire
exciting.
Slayer.
Yeah, I'm
Banger.
very excited about that. I'm like, we did get a little
Everything-
too heady and talky. Everyone was just trying to say too much for a little while. Let's go back to the X-Files. Let's
That's
find
what I'm
some
saying.
aliens.
And that's the thing around performance of politic and like representation and visibility. Is like now everyone knows your shit.
Yeah.
And how to manipulate you. That's embarrassing. Keep your cards closer to your chest, homies.
Wow. Excellent advice.
Let's have in-person conversations. Let's stop posting
Enough.
on social media.
Yeah, leave the aphorisms on Instagram. Find them somewhere else. Write them down in a diary.
Call your mom.
Yeah.
Bro, I called my mom and she was like, where the fuck have you been? I was like, I don't want to come to you when my life is dark because you can't fix my problems. She was like, you're not entitled to make that decision for me. Elon Musk is promoting an anti-empathic sentiment and you must allow people to have empathy for you.
Yo, start that Substack.
Yeah, it was just so beautiful. And I was like, she made me cry actually. And I'm like, you're so right. You're so right, Mom.
Yeah.
So we need, again, sincere pull, try and like love each other a little bit more.
Grab a bucket and throw it on the dumpster fire. Just grab a bucket of water every once in a while and just be like,
That's such a nice metaphor.
Just kind of just be like,
And it's gonna stink, but eventually the smell goes away.
Exactly. Just keep
And
pouring water.
it feels good to
Be
be kind
positive.
and accept kindness. It feels really good.
Yeah, and to these fine, these lines where there is there's an overarching sort of moral ambiguity, but to know that right is right and wrong is wrong also still, and that
Remember
there
fucking
are positions,
Ubuntu,
and that there are positions that you can't don't let it go past. I guess it's like just don't let it happen, because as it happens and there's no document and the record. That's another thing I wanted to say about the Afrikaner thing, is that it's become more proof to me that there isn't enough of an alternative record that exists here. That we need to be taking pictures of these suburbs. We need to, like, if photography in South Africa is gonna go.
We need journalism back.
Like looking at fashion and whatever, man. That's important in one way, but it can't be an
fuck
influx
fashion.
of that.
I'm sick of fashion.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Fuck
I'm like,
fashion.
I'm like, the
The
last
good
record.
photographers are getting the campaign.
Exactly. The last record of South African suburbia that would be in complete contradiction to what Afrikaners are saying is like Mikhail Sabatsky. So there's very specific moments where you're like, why have we not created counter? And I guess that's what the pod is, right? Like, it's a counter record to be able, because history will get rewritten every time in front of your fucking face.
It's scary
And
seeing
no
it
one is gonna have any proof that anything else ever happened. Because no one is concerned about, again, throwing water on the dumpster fire, right? Just constantly being like, even just for the sake of seeing another reflection of this thing, we absolutely have to keep doing that.
So hot. Sorry.
It's okay.
Cry. No, I agree with you.
It's like, fuck. Otherwise, anyone can go on and say Ubuntu means kill white people. It's like, imagine that.
That's the
It's
craziest
like
thing I've
crazy.
ever heard in my life.
So these records are important. Doing it just to do it, just for the sake of the record, just
Because
for the
it's
sake of
ours.
it. Yeah, and
It's mine. It's all mine. South Africa is mine.
Yeah, and so also doing that, like kind of giving up the identity idea of it, and kind of being a documenter in a time where you're just like, fuck, I don't know what it'll mean.
People start speaking to each other more. Like, I really miss also intergenerational conversation. I feel like is really lacking. Like, and I don't, because I also think, again, identity politics have gotten in the way, but why aren't more 50-year-olds hanging out with like groups of 25-year-olds and vice versa? When we take out the romance predatory element, we need to have these exchanges.
Yeah.
Call your mom.
Exactly.
She might tell you something fucking crazy that you needed to hear.
Exactly. So like,
That was
more
so
of that.
beautiful.
This is lovely.
What she said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've been feeling so strongly about that.
Same.
Like, if I feel no reason to make stuff anymore, that should be the only reason. That there's a substantial record that wherever it lives, wherever it sits,
You're happy, you're
that's
satisfied
the purpose.
with it,
That you die poor, you die with notoriety, whatever the fucking thing is. If that doesn't happen, that's okay.
Yeah.
But the record is important.
Yeah.
To just go look as much as you can and keep referencing back the idea that, this might be written differently later. This might be told very differently later. This thing that you're experiencing, that's visceral, that's here, it might get written out. And there'll be no proof of it. There'll be no proof of you. There'll be no proof of people like you. There'll be no proof of this kind of thought. And that's the real tragedy, is like when that happens. And so we can sit here and say whatever about Afrikaner farmers and their danger and their whatever.
There's a self-actualization.
But the truth is that they can do that because they've been documenting and writing and collecting data and traveling around the world and telling it. And it's like there's no counter argument against that. Then that's the worry, right? Like, our politicians standing here and lying about something, for example, instead of going like this Cyril thing we're talking about now, where he's going, hey man, I'm terrified. The education system is collapsing.
And
in
I
front
like
of
that
us.
he must say, like, that it's there.
Keep it on the record, right? Like, not for the sake of...
Even though he was president for the last long, he's like, we're fucked.
Yeah. He's like, we've tried. We thought we had some sort of systematic...
What happened to that man?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I think
Where did the shift come?
I have no clue. I think he's being held accountable for the first time. I think there's... Yeah, I think if you run a state with people that aren't aren't there for the right reasons, I think you miss a lot, right?
Sycophant.
And now he's like, I'm
you
ready.
have half conversations, and I think finally, and this is why the DA was so important, GNU was so important.
I agree.
I think the people asking the questions are a little different and a little more intentional. And although the DA is in state, they're also like outside of state, right? Like, and so
And
they get
also
to.
they've also gotten back in their box. I mean, when Steenhuisen spoke to the states and criticizing AfriForum, I was like, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, the GNU's working.
It's working. And so I think they become like our auditors in some way, right? Like, and whether you like their opinions or not, I think they audit a kind of.
This is the centrist space that I've been looking for.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I think he's had to change. I think the information hitting his desk is probably vastly different from the information that was landing on his desk before.
But we spoke about fashion and all of that shit, like stop making it, because we had like a really big cultural boom that had nothing to do with the government, that I really think facilitated like a sense of pride in all South Africans to create. And it was bound to happen. Like for me, it should have been Kwaito, but like a world genre, being a South African genre, I am a piano, is a crazy thing. A rugby team. And it's like, he can't be a part of that because look at his team.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, let's lock in.
Yeah.
What is my legacy? Maybe, and even if it is as narcissistic as that, like bring it on.
Yeah, and it's been great. It's been great to see the ANC policy, ANC conference not being at the center of our political conversation.
And he was like, "Can we sort out how to?"
We don't know who's going to be the next ANC president. It might not even matter.
Yeah.
ANC is polling at 32% at the moment. It might not even matter who the next person at their big conference is, and that's exciting. I think writing that out of like our history as a big thing is so important. Like worrying if fucking Paul Mashatile is going to take over the country is the last thing I want to do right now.
I was talking.
It's the last thing I want to do.
I was talking to my Zimbabwean. I was literally speaking to my Zimbabwean Uber driver in Joburg. He's like, I think it's tequila. I was like, bruh. Like,
you know what I mean? And so I'm like, oh, the more insignificant that question is, the better for the country.
Well, I did laugh at that response because it's like you're saying, down with the fucking celebrity in politics.
Dude. Yeah, enough.
Because look where it gets you, America.
It's over. You know, so enough celebrities, enough personalities, I think.
Come, let's govern, guys.
Yeah,
let's
really
do the
govern.
work.
Let's try help some poor people. Let's try save ourselves as much as we can in this lifetime. And that it's probably very little, but I'll take it. Whatever we can save.
It's ours. Like the land is all ours. And there's no history that will change that. Sorry.
Yeah, there's no.
It's just
writing of it.
unfortunate that it's such a multicultural ownership.
Yeah, and we don't.
But we need to figure that out by ourselves without the intervention.
And I think figuring out part of it would be knowing that it will cease to matter.
Yeah.
And coming to that acceptance that it will cease to matter. That it is relational.
When there's no water in Joburg, in the rich areas and in the poor areas, what do we do?
Exactly. What land are you arguing over?
Exactly.
And so I think we're gonna come to like it's a policy question. It's not a racial question. It's not a historical resolve that we need to get to.
If white people, particularly Afrikaners, can get on board with that, I think we'd have a very at least a path to a successful society.
Yeah.
Like we need to
or semblances of a
band
successful
together,
society.
guys.
What's the word of the day?
Ubuntu. Look, Evan was so cute when he heard me say Ubuntu. Do you think he's scared of being white genocided in South Africa? He loves that word. We need just like a video tripod of Evan's reaction.
It was my first word, actually. I was born in 1994, I'll let you know. That's
First
my...
word
I
he said.
came out
the words, Ubuntu. On that note, outside of the irony, I'm really for Ubuntu. And I loved what you said around the archive and the story. And South Africans are inherently storytellers. Let's just put that to good use, I think.
Yeah, in every way possible. In every way possible. Just if your lecturers say it in classes, if you, the scientists, think about it where you work.
If you're in the boardroom, you're going to lose the pitch because you're talking about how there's misinformation out there. So you need to lean into the authentic experience to sell products to South
They're going to get
Africans.
security to usher you out.
Yeah, so take your L's, but
write them down.
yeah, be principled a little bit, yeah.
Thanks for listening. We love you guys.
Bye.